Well, it's week 6 already. Congratulations. We're really coming down the home stretch now for this course. Wherever you are on the calendar, you're most of the way there. 2 more major works of literature, a final exam, final essay, and you're done. So, congratulations. Keep it up. Now, if you haven't posted a video of where you are, what you're doing to the general forum yet, I encourage you to do so. It's not a requirement, but we'd all like to see where you are, what you're doing, and what your current situation looks like. Even if you're just in Athens, working a job, and doing this course. Give us some pictures of what it looks like. So we're at the Shakespeare play. This is the week in which we read Shakespeare's Henry IV, Part 1, one of his history plays. You may want to know that Shakespeare, like Sir Thomas Malory, looked to the past. Shakespeare, in fact, looked back to the time period approximately of Sir Thomas Malory, and maybe a little earlier, looked back to the period of Chaucer in the Middle Ages. Shakespeare, like many Elizabethan people in England, was concerned with, was interested in, curious about the founding of their nation, as the nation began to think of itself more in discrete terms as an international player on the stage of the world. Henry IV, Part 1 is about King Henry Bolingbroke, Henry IV, and it focuses on a period in which he was facing a rising rebellion among disaffected nobles, many of whom had been part of the campaign to put him on the throne, arguably illegitimately, after the death of King Richard II. And the nobles are beginning to grow dissatisfied with the way they're being treated by the king that they helped get to the throne. The opening scene, the opening speech, is by King Henry himself, in which he gives a kind of an outline of the problems that he's facing. It's sort of like a State of the Union address, only it's not very positive. And he talks about his troubles, and then he makes a proposal for how they can maybe become united once again as a nation and stop bickering and maybe forestall an actual civil war. It doesn't work, I'll tell you. Not only is he facing rebellion among some of his nobles, but his own son, also named Henry, but nicknamed in this play Prince Hal, his own son is acting like something of a rebel. He's a young, late adolescent, maybe a young man who is acting like a lowlife. He's a goof-off. He's not doing what he should do as the Prince of Wales. Instead of hanging around the court and learning the practices and the skills of statecraft, he's hanging around the taverns, hanging around with lowlifes, with rascals, and in fact with criminals, with pickpockets and thieves and highway robbers. So he's really keeping bad company. And his father, King Henry IV, is unhappy about this. And throughout the early scenes in Acts 1 and 2 of the play, we see a number of references to where King Henry is expressing his dismay over his son's misbehavior, his misdeeds. There's a very important scene in Act 3 in which Prince Hal finally presents himself to his father, comes home to the castle, and stands while his father gives him a real tongue lashing, a real raking over the coals. He's really being criticized for his bad behavior. Maybe some of you have had some of those conversations in which your parent or parents have let you know just what you're not doing right and what you need to do to shape up. It's almost a funny one, a funny scene, because Prince Hal says something to try to agree with his father and say, yes, you're right, Dad, I haven't been doing so well. But his dad, King Henry, says, I'm not finished yet, in effect, and continues to give him the tongue lashing that he's launching. He hasn't said it all yet. He wants to get it all off his chest. And I hope you'll enjoy that little scene. I hope it's not too reminiscent of dynamics within your own family life. There are three major circles of characters in this play. Three major groupings of characters, and we might even say three worlds that are mostly separate but overlap at certain points. First of all, there's the world of the king and his loyalists. King Henry, Henry IV, Henry Bolingbroke, Sir Walter Blunt, and a number of others who are more minor characters in the play who represent the crown and loyal nobles, nobles loyal to the crown. Secondly, there's another group of aristocrats, the disloyal nobles, the rebellious nobles, the movers and shakers of society who have become dissatisfied by the way they're being treated, or to some degree ignored even, by the king. They're plotting a rebellion. They're planning to take back the throne that they have given, probably illegitimately, to this upstart king. Much of the early part of the play shows these rebels in meetings and in councils planning how they're going to conduct the rebellion, how they're going to reclaim the crown for what they consider to be the righteous ruler of England, Lord Mortimer. The play is, so there's that, and then, I'm sorry, I forgot where I was. The third world is the tavern world, the lower world, the world of the pubs, the street people, and the lowlifes, the bad characters that Prince Hal is hanging around with. In some respects, the king of that world is Sir John Falstaff, an old man, an old, dissolute, drunkard, glutton, and minor thief and pickpocket who has become friends with Prince Hal and who acts, in a sense, as something like a temporary surrogate father to the prince. That brings up one of the major themes of the play, and that is the theme of fathers and sons. In each of these worlds, the world of the king and aristocrats, the world of the rebels, and the world of the tavern, there are fathers and sons, or young men and their fathers or father figures. It's one of the things that Shakespeare seems to have been interested in as a theme in this play. Another theme is the theme of true versus false identity. The issue of what is a person's true self as contrasted with the self that they may project in the world. We're all familiar with this, right? We all play various roles when we're in the company of our superiors. From the standpoint of most of you, the people of the older generation, your parents and their friends, or perhaps teachers, professors, maybe if you're religious, people in the church, the priest or the pastors and so on. You behave one way. You put your best foot forward. You're polite. You don't use certain kinds of language. You show proper respect. But then when you get with your friends, it may be a whole other matter. You may, as a matter of fact, have two different vocabularies, one of which is for the decent people, and then the other vocabulary for people you hang around with every day. So we all have to learn ways of juggling various versions of ourselves, right? We play certain roles at certain times, and we drop one and pick up another as the occasion demands. It's normally not a problem, right? We're usually pretty good at it. For some people, it becomes a problem. For some people with psychological difficulties, they in fact develop almost independent personalities. This is said to be a serious psychological disorder that in some cases becomes debilitating. friend of mine's wife is in fact a psychologist whose specialty is multiple personality disorder. I don't think anybody in this play has multiple personality disorder, but I think they have multiple roles that they play, and the question is, and the question they ask themselves is, which is my true me? Which is my true self? I want to hark back for just a second as I think about this to the beginning of the course, where I asked you to write an autobiography. I imagine you put forward a pretty idealized version of yourself. I imagine that if you looked at some passages of that autobiography right now, you might say, who is this? Is that really me? Because you've given such a glowing report that, well, or maybe your parents reading it would say, is that my son? Is that my daughter? I didn't know that. I don't think that's true. In Hollywood, this becomes a problem. Actors who are especially good at it, they make a profession, right, out of playing roles, playing characters. Some actors and actresses lose the ability to really distinguish between themselves and the characters they play. In fact, it's been reported that some of these people feel that they're always acting, even when they're supposedly themselves. They're acting like a role. Who can we say? Justin Timberlake may play various fictional roles on screen, but then when he's being interviewed, who is he? Is he really being himself, or is he playing the role of Justin Timberlake during an interview? You could substitute other actors and actresses for this, but sometimes these people in Hollywood, in the public eye, lose track of where they are and who they really are. And this can lead to various problems. So that's one of the themes of the play. Connected to it, to the idea of the real versus the false self, or the true identity versus the characters we play, is the issue of the true and the counterfeit. And it's a kind of a set of images throughout the play that counterfeit money versus real money. There's a whole economic substratum of figures of speech that Shakespeare deploys throughout the play that taps into this issue of the counterfeit versus the real. There are other themes that I think are suggested in the introduction to the play written by the editor. It's a fun play. It's a good play. And it's one that if you read it carefully, I think you'll find a great deal of pleasure in. Again, I wish you all the best as you read and go through the quizzes. As in the previous lessons, there's one quiz each for each major section of the work. In this case, 5 acts and 5 quizzes. When you're finished with that, take a look at the essay questions, choose the one that you think you can answer the best, and write me the best essay you can. All right, as always, good luck, and see you on the other side.